successful. Hear all that dialogue? First principle tonight, trust that intuitive input. It comes from a balanced set of thought processes. The dialogue that talks you out of it come from some really toxic, unhealthy habits of thinking. Got that? So follow the intuition. The question really boils down. Hi, Cece. What this really boils down to is, which one have we been listening to? The inspiration or the one that talks us out of our inspiration? That's one. Number two, you have natural genius. Could you just write that down so you can actually see it on a piece of paper? I have natural genius. And Fran, yes, you do. So just write it down. I have natural genius. I have natural genius. I'll prove it to you. Do you ever procrastinate? Anybody ever procrastinate? What happens when you reach a deadline and you can't put it off any longer and you have to jump in and get the task done? You ever find yourself saying, wow, that wasn't so hard. Wow, why did I wait so long? Does that sound familiar? Yeah. How long have you been playing this game? Delay, 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 jump in, surprise. Delay, 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 jump in, surprise. Because what's actually happening is this. The noise in my head about me is so toxic and so loud that the task may be screaming, but this is screaming louder. It gets closer and closer and closer and closer till it's finally screaming louder than the noise in my head. So I shut off the noise in my head. I embrace my natural genius, and it's so incredible, even I'm surprised. 85% of Optivians have very high levels of common sense and practical judgment, which means you do know how to do this. You really do. Confusion comes from avoidance, and avoidance comes from fear. Og Mandino wrote, my procrastination, which has held me back, is born of fear. I recognize this mind from the depths of all courageous hearts. Anybody here speak French? La cour, heart? I don't speak French. That's the only thing I can say is la cour. So I don't want to sound like I really could speak French here. But la cour, heart of hearts. When you get the depths of the heart of a courageous person, what do you find? You must act without hesitation, and the flutters in my heart will vanish. Now I know that only action reduces the lion of terror, that phone, to an ant of equanimity, peace of mind. My favorite, got many, but my favorite piece of Optavia, my favorite, is that we can actually teach you, and we're going to talk about it tonight, how to do this. Overcome fear by taking action. There aren't very many places where I can with confidence tell you, leap, and you'll gain confidence. Leap, and fear will be mitigated. Leap, and doubt will start to go away. Because when you leap, things happen. Every action you take blesses a person. It's pretty cool. Now, I've spoken on the stage of almost every billion-dollar company in the country. That's not important to know. What is important to know is there's nothing like this. There is nothing like this. The compensation plan, you've got great fuelings, you've got great mentors, you've got a safe place to finally take on fear. And if you were to quit, you would just take your fear with you to the next thing you do in life, which we have been doing, many of us, for a lifetime. How about if we just take care of it this time? What do you think? Let's just take care of it this time. Now, a couple principles. Take your hands and go like this with me. This is where you are. This is where you want to be. In your head, that distance isn't very far. Anybody here go to Summit? Anybody here go to convention? We go to those kinds of events and we get all excited, and in our mind, where I am to where I want to be is just a little teeny leap. Then Monday morning, guess what happens? So we go back to another training, coaching, read a book. Next day we get up to make the phone call and boom, it's back. Thank you, Darcy, for playing. That's fun. Does this sound familiar? Boom. How can I get rid of this? I want to. Well, here's the bottom line. This is in your head. This is in reality. This never changes. This you created in your head. Now, if you could build your business in your head and you could get a bank to cash a fantasy $1 million check, how would that be awesome? But you want to make real money to put in a real bank account with which you can buy a real couch. That all happens out here. This is reality. In other words, no matter what you do, no matter how many trainings you go to, no matter how many coaches you hire, you still have to take the jump. Still have to take the jump. Now what do I do? Oh, I think I'll go do something else. My head, it looks a lot safer. Wake up the next morning, bam. This will always be there. How can we mitigate this fear? How can we at least lessen it just a little bit? Well, in addition to the gift of empathy and intuition, you get those inspired ideas to talk to people. In addition to that genius that surprises you when you stop procrastinating, 93% of you, that's the highest percentage of all, have a gift. It's the gift to vividly visualize. Have you ever viewed yourself as a vivid visualizer? I'll tell you the easiest way to find out. Do you ever worry? If I stopped you in the middle of one of those worries and said, tell me what's going on, you could share with me what's going on. That's vivid visualization. If you ever get overwhelmed by life and you just want to escape this because it's too painful, and you go into the future and imagine what it's going to be like when you're at that rank and that income and you can pay off your bills and life will finally be less stressful, that's fantasy. If you've done either one of those, you're a vivid visualizer. Isn't that great to know? You have the gift. Because it's this gift that helps us overcome fear. Now, I want to share this with you tonight because you've got the coolest incentive going on right now. To talk to those clients who haven't purchased since August, what is it, 11th or something? You got to go back and talk to those people. Those are people who have been on program. You've talked to them before. You're not a stranger to those people. So those conversations are a little easier to have than your chicken list. Darcy, that's that list of all those people you respect, that you admire, but scare you to death. So you haven't called them yet? You know which ones I'm talking about, Darcy? Thank you. Jerry, do you have any of those people on your list? Yep, we got them. I want to give you some principles tonight to help you overcome some of that fear using your gift, which you've been using to worry and catastrophize or fantasize. We're going to use it differently. You ready? Here we go. Dan Goleman, Goleman, from Harvard, wrote a book called Primal Leadership. Now, he wrote all the emotional intelligence books, social intelligence, but Primal Leadership. In Primal Leadership, he tells a story. He says there was a lady by the name of Laura Wilkinson. She was an Olympic diver, 2000. She was diving in the Olympics in Australia. 2 weeks before the games, she broke her toe. You winced, Dawn, because that's right. How in the world anybody ever jumped off of a 3-meter board? I did with sandals and my feet hurt. It's a long way. They don't even have a diving board. You just dive off a concrete platform, twists and turns, etc. Well, her psychologist knew a secret. And if you're listening really carefully tonight, I want you to know it too. They put her up on top of the 3-meter board and had her vividly visualize. It's called mental rehearsal. She's rehearsing her dive. Perfect twist, turn, enter in the water. Twist, turn, enter in the water. Dive after dive after dive, because they knew this secret. When you vividly visualize, the same brain synapses are firing that would fire if you're actually doing that activity. They say you can even develop some muscle memory. It's so vivid. But most importantly, you can mitigate fear. That means lessen the fear. Your brain fires over and over. It's like gaining experience because your thoughts are so vivid that you can actually have the same brain synapses firing that would fire if you were there. Well, I had an experience like this in 2006. I was on the phone with the leader of a company. He said, "We're having trouble making phone calls." I said, "Well, I'm speaking a week from Saturday. How about if I bring all the gear and I'll just make a cell phone call from stage and show everybody how to do it?" And he said, "Would you do that?" And I said, "Sure, I'll be happy to." Corey, I hung up the phone when I just about wet my pants. I don't like to make cold phone calls. And I said, what have I just committed to? Holy Toledo. In my exuberance, so the next 10 days, I mentally rehearsed making phone calls from stage, very vividly from stage, over and over and over and over. It had to be at 500 times. Got to that Saturday, set up all the equipment. I was giving my presentation, turned to the audience and said, anybody here have somebody they've been scared to talk to, but they'd like to present their business opportunity to them? And the guy raised his hand and I said, what's the person's name? Okay, what's the phone number? Dialed it. Now I can tell you that at that moment, the audience went, they were nervous. Picked up the phone call. I was comfortable as can be. I'd done it 500 times. It was my first live call, but I had done it 500 times. Everybody got this? I stepped into his world. I was at peace. I was comfortable. Stepped into his world, took down his walls of resistance, connected with him, set up the appointment. They had me do it 150 times over the next 4 years. It was wild. Laura Wilkinson, she had to do the dive. The ginger, guess who got the gold medal? You want to guess? Kind of rhetorical, isn't it? Laura Wilkinson. She didn't dive for 2 weeks, except for in her mind, she dove hundreds of times. And she won the gold medal. Why do I share this with you? Because every one of you have a gift. You've just been using it destructively. Over the next 3 or 4 weeks, we're going to practice doing it constructively. It means we're going to mentally rehearse phone calls until we're comfortable, then we're going to make them. What do you think? Now I got to give you one more piece before you have an anxiety attack. I said mentally rehearsal. Thank you, Darcy, because I could see it on your face. That's why I said it. When we're doing a mental rehearsal, it's very vivid, but what drives the vivid visualization? Does anybody here want a beach house or a lake house? Okay, Don, Come off of mute.
Okay.
Beach house or lake house?
Beach house.
Beach house, okay. You and I just drove up to the beach house. We're climbing out of the car, walking up to the front. Does it have a porch?
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
describe it for me?
It wraps around. So I have lots of places to look and relax.
Okay. Any steps up to this porch?
A ramp.
A ramp. Okay, great. So going up a ramp. Now we're approaching the front door. What does it look like?
It's friendly. The blue, calming.
Calming. Okay, let's open the door. Walk in. What's the first thing I see?
A lot of beach decorations.
Ah. Can I see the beach from there?
Yes. Lots of windows.
Oh, lots of windows. Now let's go forward a little bit. And on my left, what is there? What's on our left?
Front room. Sitting area.
Can you describe?
Little fireplace for when the nights are cold.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Let's pause right there. Anybody starting to visit her beach house? Isn't it interesting how she described the front door? It was almost an emotional explanation more than a visual. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
You didn't need to make any of that up. If you notice her eyes going up and to the left, she was actually seeing this in her mind. Now, we don't see it like we watch a movie. It's not the same kind of picture. But you can describe it. Isn't that interesting? What drives Dawn's ability to see that house? What is it? Starts with a D, and it's a burning one.
Desire.
Desire. A burning desire. Everybody got that? When we're catastrophizing, and we could do it really effectively. Some of us think worst case scenario, it doesn't turn out that bad, and we get to go, oh, that's our source of joy. It didn't turn out as bad as we feared. But we're not wanting it to be awful. We don't want to get hit with that right cross again and get knocked out cold like we did that one time before in our life. So we're playing out every possibility. We don't want to, the desire is driving the vivid visualization. If we're angry with someone, revenge can drive that vivid visualization, that desire to get revenge. When we're escaping to the future to fantasize, it's our desire to get away from our life and find some relief in a future possibility, desire. So here's the million-dollar question for tonight. How do we create desire to make that phone call to our former clients? Wow. We figure that one out? No one's going to have to tell you to make the phone call. You will mentally rehearse it. You'll see it so clearly. You'll be getting inspired ideas, intuitive impressions, creative solutions. I've had you wired to a functional MRI. Parts of your brain would be lighting up. Next thing you know, you're on the phone talking to them. You hang up and you can't believe you had such a cool phone call. What's the desire that drives this? I want to give you 3 things to consider. 1, gratitude for your own health journey. Now I put 10 pounds back on from my lowest weight. I'm still 62 pounds down from my highest weight. Do I focus on the 10 I put back on or the 62 I've lost? Because most of us focus on the 10 we put back on. Most of us spend our day tormented by the premier order that got canceled, or the client that won't return our phone call. Our mind is going a million. We're a crappy coach and we're terrible and we don't know what we're doing. And why should we even be in the business? Thanks, Pam. It feels that way sometimes, doesn't it? Yeah, that's where we spend our time in here. We're going to spend our time in gratitude, reflecting on our own health journey. What is different in our life because we found Optavia? This is easy for me. My dad died of heart disease. My grandfather died at 59 of a heart attack. My heart is as healthy as can be, because I've been now 4 years feeling really good on my journey down. I'm 66 years old and I feel like a kid. Clients who came to the cabin bought this sign at the store that says, "A great day is surfing on Bear Lake." Because I still surf behind the boat on Bear Lake. I love this. I'll get in a four-wheeler and tear up the mountains. Ah, where does this come from? Feel healthy. So be grateful about your own health journey. That's one. Two, be grateful about the health journey of people you serve. Even if they put it back on, some of it. Be grateful to have been walking by their side, helping them create that result. Let's get into gratitude. That will help us find the desire. Third, ponder where you'd like your business to be. Ponder where you'd like your life to be. And ask yourself, can I get there sitting here thinking what I'm currently thinking? I desire to stretch and grow. I desire to become all I'm meant to be. That's personally. Number 4, I desire to change lives. I desire to leave a footprint on this planet. It's going to matter that I was here. That's the desire that will drive a vivid visualization about a phone call. And that desire, a burning desire to reach that person and talk to them, I'm going to start tomorrow morning with a list of 10 people, former clients, if you have 10. If you don't, round it off with some people you admire that you've been afraid to talk to. Just have 10. Then take the first one on the list, and this is your private time to mentally rehearse this burning desire. I want to talk to this person. I want to say something that will inspire them to do something. And so you start practicing. Hi, Jim. This is Dave Blanchard calling. It's been a while since we've talked. I was thinking this morning about when you were on program and how fun it was to work with you. Remember that conversation we had that one day about less of this and that, whatever it might be? Would you be willing to spend a few minutes and talk about your health? I have learned to become a really good listener. Now, I've said that because some of you may not have been before. I've learned to become a really good listener. Love to serve you. Would you be willing to schedule that time? Now, that's a mental rehearsal. Just have that with you. Is that okay? There's a mental rehearsal. If one of them says to you, "You're calling me fat?" Maybe in your mental rehearsal you go, "Well, are you?" What you'll find yourself doing in your mental rehearsal is getting clearer and bolder, and let the other half of the conversation happen. Just like Dawn didn't need to make up the front door, it unfolded. What happened? We walked in, unfolded. She even talked about a little fireplace for when the winters are cold. Wasn't that cool? She walked in the room, the sitting area. It's like all of a sudden she saw a fireplace. Nobody had to make that up. That was an afterthought. You notice how it showed up? Oh, and there's a fireplace. We could have, is there any pictures on the wall? Oh yeah, there is. There's one of a boat, there's a whatever. Because it'll unfold. The other half of the conversation will unfold. You'll be surprised how that person responds to you if you're in a true mental rehearsal. Now, some of you have used this planning a trip, where you're playing out every possibility to make sure you haven't forgotten anything, or some other event like that. Now we're going to use this thinking of every possibility in a mental rehearsal with a burning desire to communicate with them about something that really means a lot to you because you're in gratitude. And I might add, if you want one more element, get into fat burn. Get into fat burn. Only take you 3 days. You mentally rehearse and get into fat burn, you will really be bold and clear. You'll pick up the phone, you'll have a conversation with someone, it will surprise you how bold you can be and courageous you can be. What do you think? Bev, you up to this? Now, I'm not asking you to make the call yet. I'm asking you to make the call in your mind, a place where you spend a lot of your time already, but not in catastrophe, not in fantasy, not in frustration over that order that canceled, truly in gratitude with a burning desire to change and impact a life. Everybody got this? See what you can create in the next week. See if you can't get yourself to pick up the phone and call. A phone call you would have never, ever made before without having this inspiration. Jim?
Hey, Dave. So I have no problem speaking on a Zoom call like this. I'd have no problem up on a stage, excuse me, in front of a group of people speaking. I am scared to death and would rather pull my toenails off than make a phone call to anybody. Why?
Okay, go back on mute because I don't want you screaming when I give you the response. Write this down, everybody. We'd be less concerned about what people think about us if we knew how little they actually do. We think the world revolves around us. How are they going to perceive me? How am I going to sound? Am I going to offend them? Are they going to think I think they're fat? All this dialogue about who? Me. Mental rehearsal, its purpose is to get us totally focused on them. What could I say to move their soul? What could I move to inspire them? What could I say to encourage them to move forward? The purpose of the mental rehearsal is to get you out of your own head, focused on you, and focused on another human being. Well, they could be offended, but it won't be because of you. That's a personal choice on their part. You can't offend anybody. But what I do know is you can't inspire somebody and also worry about not offending them at the same time. You cannot do those two things. You cannot inspire while you're worrying about not offending them. You can't do it. And if you've got fear, it's all because, and this is why I had him go on mute. I love Jim, but he's courageous enough for me to speak this boldly into all of you. When we are in this shell, and it's so uncomfortable to come out, we are robbing ourselves and everyone else around us of our gifts. It's the most selfish thing we can do. It's being selfish. Self-focused. It's time for us to focus on that other person. Call might sound like this. In the last 2 weeks, have you been thinking about your health? Yes. Have the thoughts been more positive or more negative? More negative. Would you be open to having a conversation about possibilities? I'm a really good listener. I'm just mentally rehearsing. Just be in this space long enough that you can start to feel comfortable. Your tongue will start to be loosed. Because when it's tongue-tied, it's because you're focused on you. You got cortisol coursing through your body. Your fight or flight centers activated your amygdala and shut down your prefrontal cortex. Empathy, practical judgment, common sense. You got a brownout going out and you're trying to get electricity to flow. It's shut down. It's like trying to put the lights on the house when the power's out. The power's out. You can't get light. So we want to practice doing this until we can be so calm and so peaceful, so focused on that other person's life that no matter what they say, we're just there to love them. Has anybody here had a client who thanked them for being just a little tough, for being persistent? Thank you, Lisa. It's true, isn't it? They may not even like it when you're doing it, but they will always love you for doing it. What do you want to do? Okay, we'll go one more space since you asked, Jim. 90%, that's a generous percentage, it's probably a little bit more than that, of all Optavia health coaches live in a shell. Now, I was in the care and keeping of a pedophile aged 3 through 5. I know why I was in this shell. This is the only place on the planet that was safe. I tried to live from in here. I married the coolest woman on the planet, Ramona, who gave me a safe place to come out. I'm so deeply grateful. I don't know what would have happened without her. Some of you are still in your shell, still in here. And that phone call is out in the front yard. And it's snowing. And it's so cold and windy that the wind is blowing horizontally. Can everybody see it? You're inside. Phone's out there, wind blowing. And you've got to go out there to make this phone call. Everybody feel it? Now I'm going to add one more thing, and don't be offended, but you're butt naked. Well, you can be totally exposed, right? And you run out there and you pick up the phone and you dial the number. Ring, ring, ring. Cortisol surge. Ring, ring, ring. Cortisol surge. Voice message. Relief, norepinephrine rush. Leave a quick message, hang up the phone, run back inside the house, and it takes 3 hours to get warmed up to even think about doing it again. Anybody been living like this? You might think that's what you're explaining. Dan and Jill, we've talked about this. This is so common. We're all here. But you want that dream to come true? You are in the safest place on the planet to finally get out of here. Because guess what? The snowstorm's in your mind. When you actually step out here ready to serve others, guess what you find? You find a whole bunch of people in shells. That's what you find. Well, they may have doctor written on them, or CPA, or attorney, or successful real estate agent, but 90% of them are in here. The one who wins is the one who cares enough to get out of their own and then can encourage others to do likewise. When was the last time someone cared enough about you, really cared enough about you, to just listen until you felt totally understood and they didn't need to fix you or give you advice? Can we all agree that's pretty rare? Let's leave here tonight making the decision to become one of the rare ones. They are rare. But if you can get into gratitude, make your list, begin mentally rehearsing with a desire to get out of this place, to serve other people, to lift and build, encourage and bless. It's still going to be there, but the leap will be just a little easier. And then you find out what's really truly on the other side. A whole bunch of people in shells who are hungry to have somebody just listen to them. You don't have to say hardly anything. Just get to listen. Oh, tell me more about that. What happened next? How long's it been like that? Wow. Want to do something about this? Think I could help you? No, you don't need to know all the ingredients and the feelings. Just care enough for them to feel understood. Greatest gift you can give. Their walls come down, their cooperation fled out, and you're the beneficiary. And then you'll go back in here only to get rest, because some of you still need to do that. There's some introversion in that. Go here just to get rest, but you don't bring all the stories back in with you. You just recuperate, and then you go back out again. You go out and serve. And the more you do this, the less fear you have, because you do get to know that if we were concerned about what somebody thinks about us, we'd be less concerned if we knew how little they actually do. They are totally focused on themselves. So go focus on them. That's what they're focused on. Watch the magic. I'm glad we recorded this so you can go back and play it, because some of you have been listening with very high levels of anxiety. That can make it hard to remember some of these pieces, right? But remember this, you've got the gift to get inspiration. Make the list. If they're on that list, it's important you talk to them. You want to act because you'll find your natural genius. How are you going to feel about yourself when you're living in your natural genius? No more surprise, you're just living in it. What would that be like? Using your gift of vivid visualization to mentally rehearse, to mitigate fear, create comfort, and make a phone call that you weren't comfortable doing before. You start to enjoy life. You love your business. Guess who you begin to love the most? Yourself. This isn't selfish love. This is, I'm so okay, I'm totally available to serve. We're not okay right now, but that's the journey for getting there. Anybody up for this? Can you imagine what this group could create in a month? Wow. Think about the lives that would be blessed. Think about sitting in convention, it's a mental rehearsal, sitting convention next July, and next to you are the 5 people that you got back on program who've decided to coach with you. And there's a break and you stand up and one of them just comes over, throws her arms around you and just weeps. Some of you had that experience already. Thank you. Thank you for loving me enough to talk to me and not letting me off the hook. I would have never had this experience had you not called. And in closing, I'm here because of a coach who got really bold during the 2014 convention, Gwen Peterson. Ramona and I just spent a week with her and her husband down at Puerto Vallarta. That was awesome. Gwen sent me a text message. Love you and Ramona. Don't want you to die prematurely. Do I have to hit you up the side of the head with a 2x4 to get your attention? That's pretty bold, isn't it? We were looking for her. We tried everything, even colonics for a month. Now, people could say I'm full of it, but at the end of that month, I wasn't full of anything. I mean, it's awful. Sliced, diced, juiced. We did it all. I was so grateful to find her. This is the coolest thing ever. Just had that before we got on. Isn't that awesome? Oh, I have to show you this. Then I'll be done. I came home tonight. To that. We recognize that? Tomato, asparagus, and spaghetti, squash, and meatballs. Who would have known that was so good? There's my lean and green. Ready to get serious? The time? It's time. Okay.
Wow. Now you guys know I love this guy.
I think he's so calming to me.
Oh,
I
you
could
like
listen
around
to
and
him
meditate.
for hours.
Yeah, you could like do meditation, you know, MP3s or something, and listen to your voice all the time. You're just so calming. But you're genius as well. I mean, you're so spot on with everything that you've said. And I think, has anybody not been where he's at, where he's talking about? I think we've all been there. And he's helped us get out some pretty nasty places in our head. And I never thought I could. But he taught me how. He taught us how. Okay. Our kids played football this year.
Because I let go of my fear. Dave got me to think this whole thing through, why I didn't want our boys to play football. And I had it so visualized what was going to happen to our boys. They were going to live with us forever because they got paralyzed from football. And Dave's like, whoa, your mind really went for it. So I decided I wasn't going to live in fear anymore. And I let go of that. And our boys played football and they loved it and they didn't get hurt. So that was a big one. I didn't realize how much fear I was living in my life. And Dave really helped me see that in other aspects of my life. And so it's nice to be free. And now I'm getting over that fear. Just listening to Dave talk, I'm going to make calls tomorrow because I can do it. So
As I was talking to Dave in preparation for this tonight, I said, you know, this would be such a great time to talk about our inactive list, to be able to break out and what a great list of people to call versus our hundreds list right now, to focus on this with that dash bonus going on, because these are the easiest people to call. They already know you. So any questions for Dave? Nobody? Well, Dave, I can't thank you enough. This was such a joy and a pleasure to have you do this. We've been waiting for this for a long time, and I know we've been planning this for a long time to get you to fit us into your busy schedule. It's just an honor that you did that for us. So thank you so much.
yeah, thank you very much, Dave.
It's been fun looking at your arcs. Thanks for coming off of, for those who can, coming, put your video on, because it's just fun to feel your energy tonight.
Thank you, Dave.
You're so welcome. Thanks, everybody. Much love.
Have a good
Good night,
night,
y'all.
guys.
Thanks, Dave.